So we have some bad news for the iPhone 12, and with all the rumors and all the leaks that have already came out for the iPhone 12, honestly, it's not looking too great for the iPhone 12. Let's talk about this new rumor and this new leak that has already came out for the iPhone 12. And this new rumor does indicate apparently that the iPhone 12 is going to be no different than the previous iPhones. Unfortunately, the bad news here is it looks like the iPhone 12 is still going to have the same notch that we have on the previous iPhones, including the iPhone 11, of course. And the one bad side about this apparently is they did a comparison between all the current iPhones, the iPhone 11 line, and apparently the notch is not going to be thinner, or it's not going to be smaller than what we currently have on the iPhone 11. And that's honestly not great news, because honestly right now I would have thought Apple would have went away from the notch deal, just because they've had that since the iPhone 10. So we've had it for many years. And if you think about it and you look at what the Android market space has to offer, most Android smartphones nowadays don't have any notch at all. And if they do have something on the display, it's usually like a camera punch cutout where the camera just lays on the actual front of the actual display, and it is usually really small in the corner. But if you look at what Apple's doing with the iPhone line, of course, Apple does have one of the biggest notches, or the biggest cutouts on the front of the iPhone. And I would have thought by now they would have got rid of that, but I guess they're not getting rid of it for the iPhone 12. And even though I am kind of shocked, at the same time, I'm not actually shocked at this as well, because if you think about it, I know Apple does want to keep Face ID. I know Face ID is really secure, it's really fast, it's one of the best ways to actually secure your device. So I can see why Apple wouldn't want to get rid of it. Maybe what Apple could have done, of course, Apple could have actually put Face ID maybe under the display, have all those sensors beneath the display, because it is actually possible with our current technology. Because there was a company a couple years ago that actually worked on a technology where you can actually put cameras under the display, where you can actually use the camera but you wouldn't see it anywhere on the body. It would actually be inside of the phone underneath the display. But I'm guessing that technology is probably not ready, so Apple's probably like, well, we can't actually use that technology because we would run into some problems there. Maybe it wouldn't be as secure, or maybe it wouldn't be as reliable as it is. Because for the most part, even though I do have some problems with Face ID, even though it does work, it doesn't work all the time, and it really does depend on what angle you actually have your phone angled at your face. But for the most part, it is pretty reliable, to be honest, and that would probably ruin the vision of Face ID by being reliable and being fast. And they would probably run into some problems if they put it under the display. So I don't think they are going to put it under the display. Most likely, I do believe this rumor and this leak to actually be real, because let's think about it. We're only a couple of months away from the iPhone 12 actually launching, and most of the time when we're this close to a launch of like a new product, most of the stuff is not just rumors and leaks. At this point, it's pretty much confirmed, because people been working on this phone for quite some time, and someone leaked it out of the factory, and it is kind of a shame. It's kind of actually also interesting to me if you think about it. The iPhone, I think 12, is going to have a new design for the body, but then they are going to be keeping that same notch that they've had for many years since the iPhone 10. So it's kind of weird. It's like when you open the box up, you will be getting a brand new design, but then on top of that, you will still be getting this somewhat clunky, old, outdated notch design that we've had for quite some time now. And it is kind of unfortunate, because I would like to see a brand new iPhone without a notches. And I know some people out there are bothered by the notch. Me, myself, I'm not really too bothered by the notch, but sometimes I do wish Apple would move away from the notch. I'm actually honestly okay if Apple would just remove Face ID in favor of maybe like Touch ID under the display, or maybe just get rid of it altogether. But I know that's not their vision, and since they've had Face ID for quite some time now, since the iPhone 10's launch, there's really no point they would want to remove it. And why would they do it, since so many people are accustomed to actually using it? It's just kind of unfortunate. And it looks like all the sizes of the upcoming iPhone 12 are pretty much going to have the same notch, so it's not going to vary from phone to phone in the iPhone 12 launch lineup. They're all pretty much going to be all the same here, which is again kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. Next up, we do have some information on Qualcomm because it looks like Qualcomm is working on some quick charge technology, and it looks like they're trying to improve quick charging as fast as possible. And this new protocol is pretty much going to allow phones to charge super fast. They said they want to go from 0 to 50 in about 5 minutes. That's almost unbelievable, honestly. And I never thought I would see the day where a company would actually get a phone to charge from 0 to 50% of the battery in just 5 minutes. So that means if they can get the battery to charge to 50% in just 5 minutes, that means the phone will probably charge in about 10 to 15 minutes for a full charge, and that is insane. And one of the key things about smartphone technology is always, how can we make batteries last longer? Can we make bigger batteries? But honestly, if we have technology like this where we can charge the phones so fast, we really don't need big batteries at the end of the day. It is still nice to have a big battery, whether we're talking like 4,000 milliamps, 5,000 milliamps, somewhere in the realm of 6,000 milliamps, of course, plus that quick charge. And we're talking one heck of a device, and that is some amazing technology. But there's always downside to some amazing technology, and the downside to quick charging is apparently it does wreck your battery in the long run, meaning that when you do use a quick charger every day, it does diminish the amount of cycles you can actually charge your battery, apparently, because apparently with quick charging, when you charge your phone so quick, it does heat up your phone so fast. It heats up the battery, and batteries do not like being heated up. So that pretty much means that in the long run, your battery won't last as long. If you keep your phone for like 4 to 5 years, you won't have as many cycles because it's ruining the cycles of your device. And that's always been kind of a problem with quick charging. Now, the nice thing about quick charging is, apparently from what I read on the internet, it doesn't actually of course kill your battery that fast. I think in a year of using a quick charger every day, they said your phone would only diminish to 91% of its full battery when you first bought the phone. So meaning that you have 91% cycles left of your battery, and that's not actually too bad. So honestly, I think for everybody out there worrying about how your battery heats up with a quick charger, I don't think you really have anything to worry about, because most likely by the time your battery totally dies out, most likely you'll be on a new device. We would hope by then. But apparently with Qualcomm Quick Charge 5, they're supposed to implement much better technology that actually prevents your battery from heating up. So your battery is supposed to heat up as less with this brand new technology. I don't know how they're really going to implement this as a whole, just because it is really hard when you have something like quick charging always heating up your battery. How can you really prevent it? Because anytime there's something that's going like a lot of voltage into something, usually it does have to heat up. So it is very interesting that they do claim that this new technology will prevent your battery from heating up as much. Of course, it's probably still going to have to heat up, unfortunately, because we're talking about over 100 watts into your phone. And when we're talking about 100 watts into your phone, that is extremely a lot of juice going into your battery. Honestly, for me personally, I'm actually blown away that we can even get batteries to charge at that very big wattage, just due to the fact that you would think a battery would overheat, you would think a battery would explode, but no. I guess scientists and people out there in the industry really do have this thing down to a science to where it doesn't damage your battery, and for the most part, most users won't even know the battery diminish over the time you're using a quick charger. But this just brings light to so many smartphones out there, and this is one of the best technologies if they can keep improving quick charging. And honestly, 50% battery in 5 minutes, again, you have to think to yourself, is that even possible? And apparently that is going to be possible, and that is going to be pretty mind-blowing if we can actually get it to where we can charge our full device in about 10 to 15 minutes. Of course, how much will it damage your battery? Who really knows in the long run? Even though they claim they got all this down to a science to where it really won't matter, it's still pretty crazy technology. And honestly, I never thought I would see the day. Now there's really no point of worrying about battery life on phones, now that we have things like quick charging in the mix, which is actually pretty impressive. And I'm very excited for the future of technology with tech like this coming to smartphone chargers and things like that. Now, the next one is actually about a brand new game coming to PS4. It's not really a new game, to be honest. It's actually, they did announce that Cuphead is going to be coming to the PS4. And honestly, this is a pretty big surprise because I never thought that the Cuphead exclusive game would be coming to the PS4. Granted, it kind of isn't, I guess, too big of a surprise again, just because if you look at the Nintendo Switch did get the Microsoft exclusive Cuphead, so you can see that Microsoft is really a company that's not too scared to give out some of their first-party IPs to other companies in the gaming industry. And of course, just like Nintendo, they did want to give Cuphead to PS4, and honestly, I'm actually very glad for PS4 fans who may have never had another way to play Cuphead. Now they have the chance to experience one of the best indie games of all time. Yes, I said it there, one of the best indie games of all time. I really do think Cuphead is in a league of its own when it comes to indie games. Who would have thought a studio with just a couple of people would be able to make a game as good as Cuphead? I guess the only downside, of course, to Cuphead, if you ever played Cuphead, Cuphead is an extremely hard game and it's not for everybody. It's basically kind of like a run and gun game. If you ever played something like Contra, or if you ever played something like Metal Slug, then you'll be really familiar with Cuphead. I love the art style of Cuphead. I love everything about Cuphead. And they did announce today as well, alongside bringing Cuphead to the PS4, they did announce that they are going to be doing DLC for Cuphead, and I think that is still in the works. I think they announced that last year, but for some reason, it just never came to be, and they had to delay it, and I think it's still on delay, unfortunately, for Cuphead. And yeah, it's just pretty awesome that this game is coming out. It does look like this game is going to be available on PS4 for, let's see here, $19.99. So it is one of the more expensive indie games, but you get what you pay for with Cuphead. I can safely say you're not going to be disappointed. The only thing that would make you disappointed with a game like Cuphead, of course, is going to be the fact that it is a very difficult game. So I can see some people being turned off by Cuphead, but the visuals are amazing. The gameplay is amazing. It's not like Cuphead is a game when you play the game, you feel like all the deaths are cheap deaths, because there is nothing cheap about Cuphead. Everything that you do in the game is up to you, and it is your fault as a player. Like when you die in the game, it's always learning about different patterns, learning about different enemy movements and things like that, and getting better over time. That's why it's such a good game, and that's why it's one of the best indie games of all time. So pretty cool that Cuphead is coming to PS4. So now Cuphead is pretty much on all major platforms, including PC, and that's actually some pretty awesome news that everybody gets to experience one of the best games of all time, without a doubt. Cuphead is just an amazing game, and honestly, I'm actually pretty happy for fans of PlayStation again, who never actually got to experience this game. Next up is the final one for today's episode, and we actually have some news about the upcoming Analog Pocket. You may remember I did a story about the Analog Pocket last year, and they did say it was supposed to be coming out sometime in 2020, but unfortunately, with everything that's happened in 2020, of course, the pandemic pretty much stopped them from releasing this in 2020. Now the Analog Pocket is coming out in May of 2021. I do know that is about a year away from now, which is kind of sad, since a lot of people have been looking forward to this retro clone system. If you don't know anything about the Analog Pocket, of course, is made by Analog, and it is their first handheld gaming system, and it's going to play a variety of handheld gaming systems on the market. And the nice thing about Analog, if you never used any of Analog's products, they're some of the best clone retro game systems on the market, without a doubt. Yes, they charge a premium for their devices, but they're definitely better than a lot of the competition. There are companies out there in the market that do make clone retro systems, but a lot of time it's just silly emulation, and emulation is not the best, just due to the fact that a lot of times it can't get every game perfect, and there's a lot of times where maybe the game's kind of laggy due to emulation, or the colors may be off, or the sound may be off, so you're not going to get the same experience with emulation that you would get with things like system on a chip, and that's pretty much what Analog does. They don't use emulation for their systems, even though it is a clone system. Again, they don't use emulation. They use kind of like a system on a chip where they're basically mimicking what the actual hardware was capable of, and that's pretty much how you got Analog. Now, the Analog Pocket is not going to be for everybody. It's really only going to be for people who really do have a game collection and they really do collect retro games. Again, this is their first handheld clone system, and it pretty much mimics a Game Boy, and it looks like a Game Boy. It's going to play a variety of different systems, of course, and they're even going to be including a dock with this thing. Now, the dock is going to be a separate fee, and the dock is going to be kind of expensive here. We're talking 99 US dollars for the dock, so if you want to play all your handheld games on the TV, you can. It is going to be a premium, but again, I think, honestly, this whole package, if you were to buy the Analog Pocket plus the Analog dock for $99, I do think you will be getting one heck of a product. Again, this is just not going to be for everybody. This is only going to be for people who really do have a game collection and love retro games and want to play on true dedicated hardware. I think this is going to be for those people alone. If you already collect retro video games and you collect a lot of different handheld games, then I really think this product is going to be for you. Another thing that's really nice about this Analog Pocket game system is the fact that you will be able to connect this to a computer, and you will be able to make chip tunes. If you are aware with chip tunes are kind of like what the Game Boy produced, and they are pretty unique sounds. So if you want to make some sounds and some beats and some music with this thing as well, you can do that as well, and that's actually pretty cool. So overall, this is looking like a very good device, and I'm honestly one of those people that's always okay if things get delayed. If that means at the end of the day we do get a very good product, I wouldn't want this coming out right now and then having a subpar product where this thing just is not the best quality, because I'm a person who is okay with waiting. What's one more year? Yes, one more year may sound like a long time, but if you think about it, time flies pretty fast, and eventually this thing will release, and then you will get one heck of a product at the end of the day. And I really do have faith from the Analog company, and honestly, if anyone was going to make a dedicated handheld that played various handheld video games from the past, of course, I would think it would come from Analog, since they know their quality and they're pretty much the best money can buy. Just keep in mind with the Analog Pocket, you will actually have to buy your own games. Unfortunately, you will have to have physical cartridges for this system. You're not going to be doing things like emulations or loading ROMs or anything like that. Again, it will have to be the physical thing, but I think for most people who are buying this thing, I think most people want the true experience, and the only way to mimic the true experience of these old retro systems, of course, is using the real physical games that came out way back in the past. So I think that's the right thing to do. So overall, that's going to be good, and it looks like it's going to be shipping again May 2021, of course, and it looks like I think they're still in production of this system, but overall a pretty cool system. It's going to play things like the NES. No, never mind, that's their old systems. But anyway, this does look like a one heck of a deal when this came out. Expensive, yes. Worth it, probably 100% for those people who can invest in one of these. And yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this episode. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.